بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وآله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين وبعد فقد قال جل وعلا في كتابه المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبالحق أنزلناه وبالحق نزل وما أرسلناك إلا مبشرا ونذيرا وقرآنا فرقناه لتقرأه على الناس على مكث ونزلناه تنزيلا وقد قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا مات الإنسان انقطع عمله إلا عن ثلاث إلا عن ولد صالح يدعو له أو علم ينتفع به أو صدقة جارية أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Respected elders and brothers, it is only through the fadl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has once again allowed us to witness this Mubarak day of Jumu'ah. خَيْرُ يَوْمٍ طَلَعَتْ عَلَيْهِ الشَّمْسِ. The words of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the best of days upon which the sun ever rises is the Mubarak day of Jumu'ah. In the next part, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, فَأَكْثِرُ فِيهَا عَلَيَّ الصَّلَاةِ. So make it a point to increase, not to recite, to increase. As a believer, we should daily try and take out some time to send salawat upon Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, when the day of Jumu'ah comes, فَأَكْثِرُ فِيهَا عَلَيَّ الصَّلَاةِ. Increase your recitation of durood upon me. So let us all try and recite durood once. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala. Ahmadullah was brought in 1780, was brought to South Africa from the eastern island of Java from Indonesia. At that time, they were brought in as political prisoners. So he was brought here to South Africa. He was an alim, an exceptional alim and a hafiz of the Quran. So it's in 1780, he was incarcerated in Robben Island. And with him were a few of the Muslims that were working as indentured laborers, which is a fancy name for slavery. And at that time, from 1780 up to 1793, when it was still the Dutch ruling here in South Africa, then at that time, he was when coming to South Africa, he was guilty of siding, he was guilty of political conspiracy siding with the English, only to realize that at that time, so that is one of the systems of the world that we can quickly explain, that the same English, they saw the Dutch as a unfit government, and they saw them as an oppressive government. Only when they were in power, they did the exact same thing, and they came up with the apartheid system. So anyway, we're talking even before apartheid, when the Dutch was still ruling here. So in 1780, he was arrested. And up till 1793, 13 years in prison, he wrote the Quran by memory. If a person is a hafiz of the Quran, then he will understand that how exceptionally good your revision and your door of the Quran has to be, that from memory he wrote a few copies of the Quran. And this is still present there, it is still present in Cape Town. Eventually, when the English rule came in Cape Town in 1795, then he saw that because he was on sides, not that they were in favor of Islam, but because he was on their side, they allowed him a bit more freedom. Is the first masjid in South Africa. From here we can see that the bunyad, the foundation of that Maktab started, and the thought was given behind it while incarcerated, and while Qadi Abdullah was while he was undergoing torture. And this is a system that we all used to, and like this it came and it grew into all parts of South Africa. And we do not treasure it. Mufti Marhum, the late Mufti Ibrahim Mia, from Waterfall Islamic Institute. At one stage he went to Mozambique and he saw that they had no maktab system and people were illiterate when it came to reading of the Quran. So a thought came to his mind that when he comes back to South Africa, in Mozambique, because by that time here in South Africa our system was already growing, the maktab system, the afternoon maktab system. So he went back into Mozambique and he started the first thing, he took teachers who were qualified to teach Quran, started distributing copies of the Mus'haf. The Mus'haf is the Holy Quran, what we read from. And then he started towards northern Mozambique and he started this effort. Because although people are Muslims, they did not know how to read Quran. And like this Mufti Ibrahim Mia, because this is the legacy that he has left behind. He says at one stage, during his visits and his tours to Mozambique, a very poor area, they were walking in. Transport was even a privilege. He saw a husband and a wife. They were coming out of madrasa, walking in the long grass, walking in the bushes. So Mufti Ibrahim was just passing at that time. So he noticed that they were having a conversation. So when he overheard, the husband was teaching Surah Al-Fatiha to the wife while walking into the bushes. So that is the system, my dear brothers. So Alhamdulillah, we have the Maktab system here. But unfortunately, very unfortunately, in South Africa, we have to say that while we are the benchmark for other countries, we are the benchmark for other countries, Arab countries. Some Palestinian ulama a few years came back to South Africa, and wanted to have our Maktab system and use it in their country, where it is a whole systematic approach, where you have grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right up to grade 10, and covering all the various aspects, fiqh, aqaid, tariq, Quran, surahs, du'as, so that when a person or when the child leaves the Maktab system, we would not say that he is adequately prepared to know what is his beliefs. He can worship Allah, he can recite the Quran, he knows what is tahara. But as it is, that very unfortunately now in South Africa, we can see daily WhatsApp messages are going around, private Maktab tutor, private APA in this area, that area. So when we have a world-class standard of Maktab system, we are hesitant. And one of the reasons is, amongst the many reasons, is that why? Because it is a class, it creates a certain elite class. And one of the harms of this is, in the time of Harun Rashid rahimahullah. Harun Rashid was the governor in the time of Imam Malik rahimahullah. Malik ibn Anas, one of the founders of the 4 schools of thought. We have the Maliki, the fiqh of Imam Malik rahimahullah. So Imam Malik rahimahullah at that time, when he was giving lessons in Masjid al-Nabawi, Harun al-Rashid said, he wrote a letter to Imam Malik, and he said, "Oh Imam Malik, we know of your virtues and your excellent achievements, but because me being the governor, it is not, I see it unworthy for my kids to attend the madrasa what all the other kids. So if you can take out some of your time and you can come and tutor my kids at home, it will be appreciated." Imam Malik rahimahullah responded very, very beautifully. He said that ad-dinu yu'ta alayhi wa la ya'tu. He said that this knowledge of deen is only those people benefit from it who have a thirst for it. And if a person comes towards knowledge, he will take benefit. Knowledge will not come to him. So that is the answer Imam Malik rahimahullah gave. And so for those of us that have kids and are not attending the Maktab system, let us make it a point. We have one here in this Basonia Musalla, wherever we are around, the Makatib are being established. And yes, the Maktabs do have faults at times, but if you look into the greater picture, that if I have a son or I have a daughter, when I leave this dunya, besides their worldly education, one of the things that will benefit me, the narration of Imam Muslim rahimahullah, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that إِذَا مَاتَ الْإِنسَانِ انْقَطَعَ عَنْهُ عَمَلُهُ, that when a person passes away, his actions, his good deeds also come to an end. إِلَّا عَنْ ثَلَاث, except 3 things which continue accruing rewards for him. The first one is sadaqatun jariyah, perpetual sadaqah. So a person, example, built a masjid, or he donated towards a masjid, he donated towards a madrasa, gave a person Quran. As long as a person continues or people continue benefiting from that masjid, madrasa, even while laying in his grave, he will continue receiving shares. Number 2, ilmun yuntafa'u bihi, a person leaves behind knowledge with which people take benefit. So as long as people benefit from that knowledge, he will continue receiving his reward even after death. And the third part, which is the focus, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, waladun salihun yad'u lah. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, a righteous child who will make dua for his parents. The word Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said was waladun salih, that a righteous child. Only if a child is righteous, he will remember his late parents or he will remember his late ustad. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, waladun salihun yad'u lah. And the way of attaining, the quick and easy way of attaining a waladun salih, a person that can send a'mal for us when we have left this world, is obviously through this Maktab system. And that was the system of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, whenever people came to accept Islam, the first thing
thing after a group gathered. The first Aqaba, that the people came and pledged to, when the people, that is the Ansar, the people of Medina came to Makkah, and they pledged their allegiance and they took Shahada at the hands of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There were only 12 in number. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent them back, and the first concern he had was that we need to send a teacher towards those people. Hazrat Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu anhu, he was chosen, and he went to Medina and he resided at the house of As'ad bin Zurara radiallahu anhu. The point I want to emphasize is only 12 Muslims came and took the Shahada, but the concern of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was that these people need to be taught Deen and need to be taught Quran. That is why Hazrat Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu anhu, he was privileged. So the people of Medina, they started accepting Islam. So Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu anhu did two works. He did the work of da'wah, that is calling people towards Islam, and whoever entered the fold of Islam, he made it an effort to teach them the teachings of Deen and the Quran. So certain people, they accepted Islam first, and then they were only privileged to reach the status of Sahabiyat. That is, a Sahabi is a person who saw Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the greatest people that ever existed. So because of the barakah of Hazrat Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu anhu, they learned Quran first, and then only when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam made hijrah to Medina, they had the opportunity of reaching the stage of Sahaba. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, after the Quran, we know the greatest compilation of hadith is that of Imam Bukhari rahimahullah. One day some people asked Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, when did the love of hadith come into your heart? When did you decide that now I will sacrifice my life? He said, Ulhimtu bil hadith wa ana fil katatib. He said, I was given the inspiration and the love of ahadith settled into my heart while I was still in the Maktab system. And that is it. That is when at the age of 11 already, Imam Bukhari rahimahullah had memorized already 10,000 ahadith. By the age of 13, he enters upon one of the greatest scholars of the time, Imam Ad-Dakhili rahimahullah. Imam Ad-Dakhili rahimahullah, also a human, he starts narrating a hadith. He says, so and so told me, from so and so, from so and so. He's still only mentioning the hadith, and this 13-year-old boy, Muhammad ibn Ismail al-Bukhari, raises his hand and he says, oh Ustad, the chain is not like this. It's so and so narrated from so and so. You have confused the student and the teacher. So he ignores it and he says, this is maybe one child and he's just about outspoken. He says, oh Ustad, please go back to your text. He sees the text, he sees that this child is correct. The point is, when did Imam Bukhari rahimahullah get inspired? When he was still into the Maktab system. So this is a system that Umar radiallahu anhu also started. This formal Maktab system. In the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they would have gatherings in the masjid. So one Sahabi would sit down and he would start teaching the Quran. There were four that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had chosen. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhu, Ubay bin Ka'b radiallahu anhu, and Mus'ab bin Umair radiallahu anhu. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam appointed these people that their primary focus was to teach the people the Quran. So they would sit down, start the teaching, start the gathering, and people would come in the numbers, different age, different things, different age, different groups. Until the time of Umar radiallahu anhu. When Umar radiallahu anhu saw that Islam is growing, he started this formal Maktab system like how we have now. So he appointed a teacher to teach the children Quran. Because Umar radiallahu anhu knew that if Quran is not in the lives of people, then we have no direction in our life. So our time is already up. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq. There's still much more to mention. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq. The message of today is, my dear brothers, we have a Maktab afternoon system. And now we have Maktabs that are catering. High school boys, grade 1s, different time, high school boys. And we also have different postgraduates. So if a person doesn't have time while he's in his FET phase of school, if it's still called that, where he's grade 10, 11 and 12, then even after school they have a system. So it is only up to us as youngsters, as parents of children who are still in school. And sometimes you must sit down. We know in our madrasa, sometimes we think that my son left madrasa by the age of 14 and is already in grade 9 or is already in grade 10. But because of the hours and extracurricular activities in school, the time we get in madrasa is very little. So by the time the child leaves madrasa, his Quran is still weak and it needs some more practice and it needs some revision. So his recognition of letters. So if a child leaves madrasa and his Quran is weak, and his fiqh is weak, and his aqaid is weak, then over the years, what is getting even more rusted, we can only imagine what will be the outcome. and there is very little hope in that person ever reciting Quran. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to appreciate this maktab system we have. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it that we leave this world with iman, our children leave this world with iman. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.